Welcome to the Rago Fabrication install series. Let me introduce you to our modular factory rail systems. These allow you to mount a rooftop tent, other accessories on your roof, on your factory rails of your 4RUNNER. So this is a 4RUNNER factory rail. On the back is an open spot. And with these rail systems, we supply the mounting hardware, which slides through here and in succession, and these simply just slide in the bolts and tighten on, and we will show you how to do that later on. And let me tell you a little bit about your options with these. We have these accessory mounts that bolt on the top of these slats, and each slat will have 6 3/8 threads built into every single rack. This will allow you to mount an awning on the outside of your rails with our awning mounts. We also make mounts for systems like the treads. So these are tread mounts which we purchased, and they bolt directly on here, and you'll be able to mount it on the outside of your car and the outside of your factory rails. These mounts will also allow you to mount a rotopax on the outside, and if you chose, you can mount it on any one of these 5 rails included in our system. So we're going to proceed, and I'll show you how to easily install these. These are very versatile. We make a lot of other accessories that I don't have at the moment. One of them is a bar that goes across so you can mount your Yakima racks that you most likely already have. A Yakima bike rack or any other aftermarket accessories to this rail. So if you own those things and you're using the factory rails that come with the Toyota, you don't have to reinvent the wheel or go buy something. You can still use those and mount your snowboard, your bicycle, your Yakima storage bubble that they make. And we also make tie down mounts for here. You can put a tie down hook through these slots integrated in every single rail. On 2 of the rails that you'll get, they're called support and structure rails. There's extra material welded on the inside. We can easily support 250 pounds on a single rail. We don't have a collective rail weight rating because Toyota doesn't release that information. So we're not going to release any weight ratings for these rails, but let me tell you, they're pretty strong, especially collectively and on 5 of them. I've stood on these, I've bounced on these, they don't hit the roof, and they're very low profile. I designed them to be as low profile as we can without slamming into the roof when you're jumping on it or off-roading. And these mount below, flush with this here, so anything that goes on top will not impede in this and can't hang over, such as your rooftop tent. And I will proceed to show you how to install these. So to begin this install, what we're going to need is a plastic pry bar, and all you have to do is get underneath this plastic and pop these 2 tabs out. A 12mm socket, and unscrew these 2 bolts. So after removing these rails from your vehicle, we're going to take these slats and position our rails so the opening part is in the back. We're going to slide these rails in here. There's 5 per rail. Now you can do this on the car. You will have to remove at least 1 rail, but I don't recommend it. It's so much easier just to do it here on the bench, put it together, and then have a friend help you put it back on the vehicle. Now the first rail you want is one of the load rails. They're heavier than the rest, and they'll have that welded plate at the bottom. You're just going to go ahead and slide it in that bolt. Get your 2 washers. Nut on there. Now that they are attached, you can see that these aren't parallel and everything's free to move. You want it like that. So the easiest thing to do is slide the back rail forward. Just snug it up a little. You don't want to tighten them. What you want to do is make sure they're not falling off your rack here. The rest of these bolts are just finger tight. That's the way we want them. So this completes our bench installation. The next thing we're going to do is have a friend help you. It's easier to do it from the back side of the car. Is lift it up both sides, put it on top of the car, line up these bolts. Feel free to unloosen these back bolts and slide these rails where they need to go. And then what we're going to do is slide these back and forth down to where we want them on the car. This is the easiest way to install it. If you choose not to take both rails off, you're just cheating yourself because it's a lot harder. You might as well be comfortable on the floor with your tools than hunched over the top of the car. Once again, I want to note the load rail is in the back and the load rail is in the front. These are for rooftop tent owners because most likely you'll be mounting the rooftop tent to these heavier duty slats, and with these 3 slats we'll add additional support. So we had this installed. I went ahead and tightened up this load slat, the rear load slat, and then evenly spaced these 3 in between. You can do whatever you want. You can measure or do whatever you want to do to make it even. And go ahead and tighten the rest of these slats. Now that these are tight, I do want to mention that if you have a rooftop tent, it'd be very difficult to mount it on the car with these slats up here. What we recommend is leave these the way they are, undo all these 4 bolts, take it back off the car, mount it on the rooftop tent, and then get the rooftop tent back on here and then tighten up these bolts. That'll allow you to get underneath there and tighten it up, make sure everything's secure. Doing it the other way is just going to cause headache and pain, and the path of least resistance is to just take this back off. Now I know this is a tall vehicle and rooftop tents are heavy and it's most likely not easy, but in all reality it would be difficult to mount it up here in the first place if you had any other rack. That's just the nature of the beast. So in the future we are designing slats that have a quick release. So once the rooftop tent is on there, all you're gonna have to do is pull a pin, take off the rooftop tent, store it, and put the rooftop tent back on. It'll self-align, self-center, put the pins back in, and it'll be good to go. We haven't finished our prototype yet, but it's coming, and that's the next step to the evolution of these. We're also designing a full roof rack surrounding with this, so you can remove it, put it on your rooftop tent, take off your rooftop tent, put your roof rack back on. It'll be a full cage around here. It'll hold lights in the back. It'll have wind deflector in the front. And essentially, for the price, you get almost the full package. Obviously, you can't utilize the front of the car for a lot of storage,
But these are good first steps if you don't want to spend the high dollar price of a full roof rack. We didn't design these to do the same thing a full roof rack is supposed to do, but these will do pretty much 90% of what you need. We're going to show you how to install the canopy mounts and the treads mounts on here, because this is our prototype vehicle, and look for that in the next coming video.